What's up, everybody? Bryson Michael Cast here. The last video that I made, my episode one of Drug Stories, pretty much I mentioned it in the video, and I kind of did some lead up to it. I had only said that entire story one time out loud, and saying it for the first time in a long time, and actually putting it out there online was a very extremely scary thing for me to do. Very emotionally. Uh, Wrecking video to make. I always wanted to do it because um, just in case I can help somebody, that's the biggest thing for me is I just want to help other people. And anybody that's going through that type of a struggle, I'd like to see you come out the other side and become better and not be, you know, not have the crutch of addiction on you. And so I felt like it was a necessity that if I could just help one person, even if you know not very many people watch it, or even if millions of people watch it, it doesn't really matter as long as one person gets help. Maybe even two people, that I just want to be a positive force in people. And so I knew that I could help people with a video like that, letting you know my personal story. But as a person who's always kind of struggled with mental health, um, it was a very wrecking video um, when it comes to my mental health. It kind of put me in a funk for the rest of the day, for the next 3 days, and it was kind of something hard to look back on. I like to kind of make videos on the Bryson Michael RC channel, and when I get done making them, I'm always the first one to watch it because I like to go through and make sure that everything's good, learn from my mistakes, and make a better video next time. And it's one of those videos that I just could not sit down and watch it again. There was a whole lot of embarrassment and shame and just regret in that video, and it really kind of put me in a bad spot. Um, it's all going to be worth it if it helps somebody, but one of the things that I like to talk to people about whenever I'm discussing any type of addiction or uh, kind of telling people about my struggles with addiction, or I'm trying to help a friend or something get through their own personal mess, one of the things that I do like to discuss with them is mental health. There's a lot of people who don't know that they have poor mental health, and they've been kind of led to believe since they were younger that everything is normal, that everything's fine, that they shouldn't worry about what they're going through, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and things like that, and just keep pushing forward. You always hear people, just one foot in front of the other, keep going, all this different stuff. Um, and they don't realize that they do have some form of poor mental health. I don't know if that's the right way to phrase it, poor mental health or good mental health, or how to phrase that. I'm no mental health expert, that's for sure. But I've always struggled with depression, and I've always struggled with so really bad social anxiety, which is crazy because I was a musician for a long time, and then I have a YouTube channel that has almost 4,000 subscribers that I made 3D printing videos for and stuff, and then I'm trying to get this to go out there. Uh, just know that when I make these videos like this, that it is pretty much tearing me up inside to do because the constant threat of judgment is weighs on me unconditionally. The the good thing about being on a video and just making my own video in my own room with nobody there is I can make this, and then I can kind of go through it and edit it or do what I need to do to it and then put it out later. And I'm not just discussing this in front of people. Being a musician, it was always scary. Being a musician, something that I did. Number one, I wanted to get a guitar and learn how to play. I just loved the new metal music of the 2000, late 90s, early 2000s. I really loved Korn, uh, Deftones, Limp Bizkit, bands that were huge at that era, that point in time. Uh, really loved all that style of music. Plus, I loved a lot of older stuff, newer stuff. My musical taste is expanded. Like, I mean, it's huge. But I started playing the guitar just kind of because I was always air guitaring, and was interested in it, so I got a paper route, $80 a month on this paper route, and I saved up my money and bought a guitar and taught myself how to play that guitar. My cousin came over and taught me one riff, and then from then on, I just taught myself everything else I knew about the guitar. And then I managed to put a band together, and I knew at this point, that my social anxiety was going to be a problem. And you hear about bands and people that, a lot of these emo bands have a bunch of kids who were losers in high school, and they weren't part of the popular crowd, and they have all sorts of mental health issues. One in particular comes to mind, and that is the Used, the lead singer. I guess before he went on stage every day, he would just throw up because of the nerves and stuff that he had in his gut. And that was kind of my thing. Whenever I went on stage, the whole first like 2.5 songs, I just keep my eyes completely shut. I hated every second of, But as people started reacting to it, and as I started feeling like nobody was staring at me, but they were enjoying the music and watching the band, I started feeling more comfortable, and that was really kind of where I felt at home. So I craved it after that because just being around people, small groups of people, large groups of people, anything like that, I always had panic attacks and things like that. But as I was playing music, that being on stage in front of people playing the first couple songs, it's the highest my anxiety level could ever be. But you can actually feel it come down and release out. And that was always therapeutical to me. So playing music for me was a non-negotiable thing in my life. Like I had to be playing music because that calmed my social anxiety. Not only that, but being able to put my thoughts onto paper, taking a pen and writing down lyrics and lyrically stating what I was thinking in my mind was therapeutical for uh, my depression and bouts of depression. And if anybody knows anything about depression, you kind of I talk to so many people about depression and stuff, and you hear people say like, "What do you have to be sad about?" or this or that. It's not sad. You're not just sad. It's an inner um, darkness, like a cloud that just comes over your brain, and you get this sense of apathy, and for no reason in particular, really. It's just a looming, almost feeling of doom. It's not brought on by anything particular a lot of the times. My first suicide attempt was brought on. I mean, it was just everything was too much, and when you're in high school and going through, your body's changing, you're going through hormones where everything is amplified to 10. And then you have mental health, which, poor mental health, which you have anxiety and you have depression. It's just a stew of bad things, And when you get some sort of a structure and something that works, and you start investing your soul and everything into that thing, and then all of a sudden that thing is taken from you. It's Most times depression comes on slowly, and you fight through it, and you figure out ways to get through it, and then it slowly goes away. But in a moment of intense, when your senses are dialed to 10 because you're going through puberty or something, and you're in pure bliss because you found this, say, a relationship or something to hold on, to feel normal, to feel love, to feel, something stable, and all of a sudden that is taken away from you. You don't just slowly go into depression, you're plunged into that depression. And sometimes the senses cannot handle the sudden array of emotion and feelings that you end up getting from that. So I'd like to tell stories on here, not just about, certain moments in addiction, but I would like to do what I can, not only to help people to become better fathers or better husbands, or um, get over being a drug addict of some kind, but I would also like to extend a hand in the arena of possibly um, mental health as well. And I don't think you have to be an expert to talk about mental health. I think if you have struggled with mental health your entire life, I think that pretty much makes you an expert. I mean, if you grew up riding a motorcycle and you could do all the flips and everything that this other person can do in an X game, you've just never been in an X game, doesn't make you any less of a motocross person than that person. You know what I mean? In fact, you may be more. Maybe they started way later and they're just doing it to do it. You know, maybe you live it. So it's kind of one of those things. Um, and I think that we need more people out here on the internet talking about mental health and what people go through with mental health because I think it's a lot different in the mind of every. In fact, I think everybody's bouts with things are different. I have a daughter who's 16 right now, and she's going through all the same things I went through, except she has a stable, loving couple of parents at home that support her and are behind her 100% every step of the way. Unlike me, who craved attention but hated attention, merely because I didn't get what I needed as a young man from home. Um, so I never had that person to go home and gush over good grades or tell me how good I was at a sport or tell me how good my music sounded or anything like that. And in fact, I'd be playing my guitar sometimes and get told to turn it off because it was annoying. I mean, I never really had that support. My kids, I'm one of those that my son will go into his room and bang on his drums, just bang on them. And it's not, you know, he's a good drummer, don't get me wrong, and he plays some really good stuff, but when he's first practicing a song, it is just terrible and it's brutal to listen to. But at my house, you're not allowed to tell them to stop because that's their creation. That's their practicing. They're trying to become better, and you don't want to squash somebody's movement through becoming better. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I never had that. When I was doing something to that I thought would better myself, I was, annoying somebody or something like that. So I never had that structure at home of support. Never had a father at home for support. Just had a mother who was extremely religious. But my daughter's 16. She's going through all that stuff, an array of emotions, and since it's dialed to 10, and she has very, 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 probably worse than me, anxiety. And she has really, really horrible, horrible, worse than I've ever had anxiety attacks where it'll break her down. I mean, it'll break her down. And one thing, since I have social anxiety very bad, uh, oh, sure, we've kind of talked about and discussed things that she could do to help her get through her social anxiety. And I've noticed one major flaw in that thinking is what works for me doesn't work for her. And she's going to have to find out on her own what does work for her. Not only that, she's going to have to learn to really just deal with it until she finds something. As if you want to survive in this world and become a strong individual and, you know, really put your best foot forward, you really, most of this stuff is up to you because you can lead a horse to water. I mean, it's an old saying, it's an old adage, but you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. I can tell her everything that helps me, but if she doesn't actually give it a try, it's up to her. And the problem with today's society is I think a lot of that self-reliance and self-determination and stuff, anything that does with the self has kind of been taken away, and we give people a lot of leeway and a lot of excuses as to why they are how they are. When it comes to, let's say, let's say homelessness in California, they have Skid Row. I mean, in California, people are just shitting on the side of the street. There's needles and drugs and everything all over the streets. People are just living in squalor. It's disgusting. But why? I've seen a lot of interviews with the homeless people there, and there's number one, there's a few types of different people. There's kids who their whole life they've been given anything they've ever wanted when they finally went out on their own. They didn't want to have to work for anything, and the government's paying for them to be homeless. Government's giving them free stuff, free food. They can live and do whatever the hell they want. They can go do drugs, and that's that. That's that. It's their own fault. And I'm not saying this is everybody. I'm saying these are different groups of people. It's their fault, but people want to make excuses for it. Give them every leeway in the world. Uh, there's people that have really, really poor mental health, and they should be in therapy, and they should have medication and things like that that are on Skid Row, and they're on drugs to escape that type of the anxiety and depression and realities that their mind makes up for them, and they're homeless, and there's really nothing that they can do because no one out there really cares for them. Those people, it's not really their fault. Society has just left them behind. And then there's people that have just went out and they've made a ton of mistakes in life. They've made all the wrong decisions in the world, and they've pigeonholed themselves into a point where they're on the streets. And again, our society doesn't really do anything to help anybody. Yes, I agree. But at the same point, they gotta want to be helped. The kids that have been handed everything and they're kind of uh, willfully. I watched this Facebook thing. This guy, it's some soft white underbelly or something like that, and he interviews like all these homeless people and sex workers and things like that. And there's some really, really interesting videos. I think if anybody has any notion of wanting to know what these people think, you should watch some of those videos. I mean, it's some eye-opening stuff, but there's a lot of those people on there that, um, sex workers, for example, they can make more money in one night. They can make $1,000 a night. They don't like being a sex worker. It's nasty. It's dangerous. But when you're making $1,000 a night and you've got a drug habit, going and working at McDonald's for $12 an hour or something doesn't work. It doesn't work because you realize real fast that trying to stay sober and get a job that pays very little um, doesn't work because you're going to go right back out because you're going to go, man, I don't have enough money for bills and stuff. I might as well just go back out and do this because that's where I can get money from. So we don't have enough societal structures set up in place to really help people out. And some of that, like sex workers and things like that, some of that can create people that have bad mental health because you start having a low self-esteem of yourself. If you're living on the street, you're a sex worker, you may be making good enough money to support your drug habit. But other than that, you may think that you're worthless or this or that, or your pimp owns you or something. We've created all these degraded people in society. Um, I think if you really want to, and this wasn't meant to be a homeless video, it really wasn't just a mental health video, but I think if you really want to tackle the homelessness in society in California, anywhere, I don't want to pinpoint one place, but you have to first start with mental health. I think we have to be bold enough as a society not to group people and pigeonhole everyone together. We can't say this is the homeless, this is our solution to the homeless, this is what we're going to do and it's going to work. That doesn't work because everybody's different. Everybody has different mental health issues. Everybody has different ideas and reasons why they are where they are. We have to be bold enough as a society to look at these people individually and subscribe something that works for them, and actually care enough as a society to look into each individual person and say, what can we do for you? I had an idea a while back when I did oil and gas collection, oil and gas lease data collection. I wanted to run for office at one point. Obviously, I can't now because people see that overdose video and be like, "Ugh," that's not a politically good thing to do. But I had an idea for being able to notice and subscribe the right direction for some of these people. And that would be coming in and not cutting off state, but making rules where if you want to gather a certain, we have enough money. We do. This country has enough money to create some type of a place, some type of an apartment complex, one bedroom studio apartments, whatever you want to do, some apartment complex to say, listen, we don't want people on the streets anymore. Or you either go to the streets or you go to jail, or you go to the apartment complex or you go to jail. Those are your two options. Now, when you go into the apartment complex, you sign up, you put your name down, you list things that could possibly contribute to your mental health. So anything that may have happened in your past, like say as a child they had a traumatized childhood and something happened, they list out things so that we can evaluate each individual person and structure something for that person where we say, listen, here's an apartment complex. It's paid by the citizens right now right now. But the goal is to get you to supporting yourself. Now, it's obvious that there's some people with really bad mental health that will never be able to support themselves at all. And that's good. But being able to determine who that is and set them aside and give them a place and focus on those people, perfect. You know what I mean? That should be allowed. But there should be also other evaluations where we have let's just say an example, we'll fit 100 people into this round apartment complex. In the middle, uh, every single evening at a certain point, uh, social workers and people come in, volunteers come in, and they have a big cookout. Everybody sets tables out. People come in. The people that are in the apartments, they get a free meal, and while they're having that free meal, they go around and kind of help discuss things with each other, start individualizing people to say, these people are more like this, these people are more like that. You guys need to talk to each other and formulate a plan of how to make your lives better. And then um, offer free therapy for every single person. If drugs are necessary, put them on that drug that is necessary. Any type of thing like that. So free therapy, not just to put them on a drug to put them on a drug, but to actually get down to the root of the problem. Um, and you'd be surprised. Somebody that has, say, somebody's living on the streets because they can't get a job, because they can't afford lithium, because they're, um, what do you call it, schizophrenic. They can't afford lithium, so they're living on the streets, and they're just nuts, right? Say it's a person like that. Well, you get them in, you monitor them, you watch them, uh, let them live there even the first year for free, all of them. You know what I mean? But for that first year, anybody who's homeless gets to move into this place free of charge for 1 year. 1 year until it's determined. So you go in, and in that year, you see a psychiatrist, uh, you see doctors, you get medical evaluations, all this different stuff. Once a week, you see some specialist who comes to you. And as you tick through the year, you make a plan of putting these people in these groups to be evaluated together. Now, there are some people that they can never be on their own. Their mental health is too bad. Then those people, we as a society should feel compassion for them, put them in this spot, give them a good life, a good life. For one, I always talk about my dog. My dog, she died at like 13 years old a couple months ago, and it was brutal. It was emotionally wrecking for me. Um, she was a member of the family, and when she died, my biggest concern was her quality of life. She was old. She was she was falling apart. She was struggling, and my biggest concern was always her quality of life. I wanted her quality of life to be good. If I can feel that way for a dog, I think society can feel that way for human beings. And some people they just can't. But then when you notice that there is this group of kids that they've been handed everything, they've never worked a day in their life because they don't want to. Everything's been given to them. Then they rebelled and they got on drugs and now they're homeless because their parents cut them off and now the state's paying them all this money. So why would they want to work? Because they're getting free money anyways. If they ever got an apartment, they'd lose all that money. So why would they? You find those people and you put them together on a plan. This is what we're going to do. And you get coaches to come in, job coaches. We have tons of jobs available out right now that we can't fill. Tons. They should be filled by an American citizen. So you start slow, you start small. You say a couple hours a week, you come out, you learn a trade. You might enjoy it, offer them certain different trades like welding. You could offer like a welding course once or twice a week for them to come out and just play around and weld. See if they're any good. You have a whole year of them living there for free. So anybody that comes in, and then as the years go, it's not just the first year that this is enacted. As the years go, when somebody else becomes homeless, they can move into this encampment place, this apartment complex, free of charge for 1 year. Everybody has that. We pay taxes. It should be like a part of your benefits where you come in, you have 1 year to figure things out. You talk to somebody. You see examples of how other people are living lives and show them, full families have people come in and talk to them and encourage them and tell them how much of a good, maybe they never got that at home. Maybe that's why they're a spoiled, rotten kid. They just got money thrown at them the whole time or something like that. Um, and so show them that hard work pays off. Show them that they can be satisfied with their hands and they can create something, make something better. You know, show, have classes on videography, coaching, any type of little trade, anything that they say, I'm interested in doing this. Anything that's not like acting or music, because that's something that you can go and do on your own. I mean, having a big apartment complex, I would imagine, like maybe during your meal, you have like this once every 2 or 3 months, you have like a talent show and let people come out and do that. Just a nice, fun place for people to go and to get to a better point. And then after that 1 year, and people have to be willing. So the people who are kicked out and go back on the street will be people who they're just lazy, and we'll single them out. If somebody doesn't want to put in the work to make themselves better, that's their fault. And it would fix homelessness. It would put it, and we've got thousands upon thousands of people that are homeless. You could identify every problem that's with everybody. You can come up with individual solutions because everyone is different, and you have a year to do it. And this can all be paid by tax dollars. I mean, it'd be as simple as that. Simple as that. And anyone who has a drug addiction, that's the biggest point of this. If you have a mental health issue, you'll have somebody to walk through your mental health issues and stuff. You'll be given a better quality of life, so your mental health should go up. But um, as your mental health goes up, your productivity will go up as well. As you're more secure with yourself, the better you will do. And then and it's not like jail or anything. I mean, they can leave at any time that they want. They come back. They start from where they left off. So everybody has 1 year. Everybody that's a U.S. citizen has 1 year. So they go in here and say they after about 6 months they leave. They don't get to start over. They come back and they start at that 6 months. And then it gets to a point where this program, um, what do you do with the one thing that I would say uh, that is the flaw in it is what do you do with the people who just refuse, who just won't do anything, who just want to be homeless? Because there are people like that. There really are. And it's sad, but there are people who just want to live off the government. At that point, we have to, if it's somebody who has hands, who can work, who is a human being, who doesn't have a lot of mental health issues, who is a viable member, who could be a positive, viable member of society, we have to let them make their own choices. And at that point, they have to feel what it's like to be cut off from the government teat. And that's what you do. And believe me, there's a lot of people that are homeless that don't want to be homeless. They lost their job. They owe a ton of bills. They went bankrupt or something like that. Now they're homeless. There's a bunch of them. They're normal people who would love to find work. Um, they would love a program like this to get back into work, to get back into doing. Not only that, but you can host job fairs, and you could do things to where you don't have to wait a year to become a normal and get your own. You know what I mean? If a job fair comes in and you've got a specific trade that is necessary somewhere, and then the government, uh, say you have all these apartments in California, right? They want to raise all the taxes, they want to do all this different stuff. So let's put them all in California. Or let's do them. Let's do them somewhere nice, California, Texas, Florida, somewhere. We'll have several of them all over. Every state should have a couple of them. In every major county. But say you got really good at welding. Say your passion suddenly you didn't ever know because nobody's ever given you a chance to weld. You've never seen a welding machine, but you've got this extra opportunity. These job fairs come along and have job fairs from all over the world, not just from that area, because that sucks. There's some areas that they just don't have work. Um, have the government then pay to move that person to where that job is. Set them up in that community's little apartment area until they can get on their feet and give them a full plan to get out. I mean, that's the best opportunity. I think that would be the best thing. It would have to be viewed as not a jail type of thing. But I think that that's a really good way to work at it, to understand that there are going to be people that have really bad mental health, or they're so far gone they're never going to come back, and just let them have a good quality of life for the rest of their life, not living in a tent somewhere. Also decriminalize addictions. That's another huge thing that needs to happen with all of them. So if you're living in one of those apartment complexes, you should have access to wind down, not to stop cold turkey. So if you're a heroin addict, because a lot of people won't go because they're going to think that it's drug regulated, so they're not even going to give it a shot because um, they won't be able to get drugs. And you can't just make it a drug-free environment. You can't do that because a lot of addicts, their mental health is focused 100% on addiction. And they could be better if someone would just help them wind down or put them on something like Suboxone or methadone or something that's going to help them clear up. Um, but they won't, if they're in the throes of addiction and somebody says, we have this huge, amazing opportunity for you, you just have to quit. The drug addict in people are going to say, I don't want to go through withdrawals. I don't want to suffer, so I'm not going to, you know? And it sucks. It really does. So you have to, in order to do this, you have to, on that ground, have facilities, medical facilities, to administer safely these toxins, shall we say, toxins, slowly uh, inverting those toxins and making people sober. But the people who are far gone and they're only functioning due to drugs and stuff, just let them have a good quality of life. That's what I say. Uh, put them on a medication if none of it helps, and the drugs do. Just let them have it. Let them live the rest of their lives feeling comfortable. So I think decriminalizing a lot of drugs would help in people's addictions. It really would, because one of the biggest problems is going through withdrawals and not having anything to come off of it. Going, having to search and search and search for drugs. And then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're out, nobody has any, it's dried up. And then all of a sudden, you're in the throes of being dope sick or something. And then suddenly it comes back along and you're good. And then you never want to go through that again. So you never stop. If there was medical facilities where you could safely go and, because not everybody's going to wind down from Suboxone or methadone. Not everybody's going to use those because at first that high and what you do, the needle in the arm, that's part of the addiction too. The process of it is part of your addiction, and people don't understand that. They just want to put another substance in the way of that addiction. Um, you've got to have safe facilities to give them less and less and less, and not only give them less and less, but also divert their attention to something more positive. So in a year, at this place, this arbitrary place. Well, it's not arbitrary, but in this fantastical fantasy world. Um, you're to be if you're not one of those people who are long gone, those people good quality of life. Let them just stay on their same drug regimen. Let them do their thing. Just monitor them, check up on them, make sure they have clean clothes and clean bedding and good food and things like that. Let them do their thing. Just good quality of life, and that's it. Um, but the people that can get better, they have that year to detox slowly. It's an entire year's a long time. So being able to, from being a full blown heroin addict to being, medically going and seeing a doctor and getting less and less and less and less and less, you don't even have to tell them they're getting less and less. You just give them what looks like the same amount, but a less concentration of it until they slowly come down and come off of it, or something maybe like a synthetic type of heroin that actually starts that. I don't know. They can create all sorts of stuff. I mean, they have cures for all sorts of things. But focusing on that stuff and actually making, pharmaceutical companies would come up with something for that. If you had a facility like this, pharmaceutical companies would want to make money off of it, and so they would create something for this. You just have to have something in place for them to want to make money off of it. You know what I mean? Like that's pharma wants to make money. They always want to make money. You can turn that greed from pharmaceutical companies into something positive by putting it into this. But anyways, they get off, slowly go off. They can have their own type of regiment and stuff. Hell, let them come in for the first couple months. They're partying and having a good time, living for free in a beautiful place. You're just checking up on them, making sure everything's good, making sure they have food. The more they talk to a therapist, the more that they talk to everybody around, the more they and show them examples of the people who are just living a comfortable life. Um, it's not good. Even just sitting there, a society that's given up on you, it's not good. Just letting them live a comfortable life because I promise you they'd love to be better. You know what I mean? Creating something like that until they want to become better. And having somebody like Jordan Peterson would be an amazing thing. Like hire Jordan Peterson to come in and give lectures to people, to teach classes on being a better human being. Because he has just changed my life in the best way possible. His 12 Rules for Life is one of the greatest books I think I've ever read in my life. And I don't read books, but it's been very, very helpful as a human being to just not compare myself to who everybody else is today, but compare myself to who I was yesterday and just be better. Be better than I was yesterday. That's been my goal for a long time now. And just teach people that there's hope. That's another thing. That's another huge thing. Just teach people that there is hope. And there's a society that cares about them, that people aren't left behind. Because that's the problem with politics nowadays. The biggest problem with politics nowadays is every single election period they come out and they try to act like they care about you. And as soon as that election is over and the person has won, then they care less anymore. Honestly, they could, especially the administration we have in now, could care less about the people. He came on and said, if you don't vote for me, then you ain't black. And claimed that wanted to support black people and all this different stuff and wanted to help people that were in fentanyl addictions and stuff. And then as soon as he got elected, he opened the border wide open to allow floods of fentanyl to come over and kill thousands and thousands more people, um, mostly black people. I mean, it's brutal. It's disgusting. So we got to have somebody, an administration and a government. We got to hold our representatives account. Somebody like Nancy Pelosi, who's been in office for 30 some years, who's basically every time she invests into the stock market, she makes millions on because she's got insider trading, which is illegal. She still does it anyways. She hasn't cared about California or the San Francisco area since she came into office. All she worries about is making money. And if she can sit there with an African garb and kneel in front of the cameras and make a big stink, then she will. If she can rip up a speech after Trump gave the State of the Union and make a big deal out of it, she will. She's just all about being flash and political while making money in the background. We need to hold these people accountable and make sure that they are thinking about the little guy. And what best way to hold them accountable than to create something like this complex that would help people in the greatest way possible. The only way to help people is to find out their individual things that are happening, the individual drugs that they're addicted to, the individual mental health issues that they have, the individual aspirations that they may have had since a young kid to where they want it, where they are now, like the individual view of how they want their life to be. We can't just say one size fits all. We can't just say homelessness is legal and they can camp anywhere that they want to, and we're just going to give them a whole bunch of money and hope everything gets better. We can't do that because that's them giving up. They're just giving up on people. They don't care. They've got millions of illegal aliens flooding the border all the time. They got new voters coming in. If they can get them people legalized, they don't have to care about you guys that are sitting on Skid Row, homeless, addicted to drugs. Just saying. Truth hurts sometimes. It really does, but it is the truth. So I don't know what I'm going to call this. This is a pretty good discussion, but uh, hope everybody has a good day. Hopefully, this will help somebody. We'll have a little bit more discussion later. I think Diddy might either be coming by today or maybe next week sometime, and we're going to have a little bit of a discussion together. If it comes over today, we're going to make another video and put it out. I do have a few more things that I do want to discuss, but in order to actually, I thought about this the other day. I wanted this channel to just grow organically. Um, and I hope that you guys subscribe. If you watch this, please subscribe to the channel. But I am going to start creating shorts because I think the only way to help people is to put this out in front of people. So that video, that I said I just want to grow organically. If people stumble over it and see it, then good for you. You can subscribe and stuff. But now that I've thought about it a little bit more, I would rather it actually be put out in front of people. So I'm going to start creating some shorts just to kind of gem up maybe some traffic to the channel. So maybe we can reach out to a larger group of people. And if you do like the content, please hit that subscribe button. Leave in the comment what you want me to talk about because there's plenty. There is plenty to talk about, and I can make the next one a lot more structured. This one I'm just freestyling. I'm just going. I'm just kind of talking about my thoughts. This isn't part of the drug episode. The next I'm gonna do that like once a month, a new episode for the drug things. I'm also gonna do a suicide episode thing where we're gonna talk to some other people that I've discussed a little bit of stuff with. I want to get some personal stories from some other people when it comes to mental health because I think it helps out a lot more if you hear it from somebody than just me or you know what I mean. When two people actually discuss it together, you get a more broad range of understanding of what it is. Um, so we'll do some more. Just stick with me. So we'll see you guys later. Have a good one.